What is going on, guys? JB Films here. Today we're going to be talking about WWE 2K17. This is my future endeavors list. This is 5 superstars. I don't think we'll be making it into the next game for whatever reasons, releases or disputes or anything. And all of these guys, except for one technically, are not with the company anymore. And because of this, will likely not be making it into the next game. We're going to start things off with Adam Rose, Aldo Rose now in the Indies, Ray LaPon, Leo Kruger, whatever you want to call him. He was suspended back in April for a wellness policy violation. This was his second, and then later in that month or a few weeks later for a domestic violence case, tampering with witness. It was a very shady thing. Didn't really know too many details, and it was later dropped. But Adam Rose was released in May, about a month later, and since then he's been on Twitter promoting his no PG thing. He's got a pro wrestling story. He's going to be appearing in the Indies as Aldo Rose. He's shaved his head, a bunch of stuff like that. So now Aldo Rose, Adam Rose, will not be making it into WWE 2K17. Up next, we're going to be talking about King Barrett, or Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, who was released in May. He wanted to take a break from wrestling. He, of course, requested his release and was granted it. This was shortly after the League of Nations broke up. This was Wade Barrett's last real memorable stint, or memorable as it was, I guess. The League of Nations was largely a failure, but Wade Barrett was a big part of that group. And once they split up, Wade Barrett, I believe his contract was going to expire a few months, maybe in June, but then he decided to just request his release early. And of course, like I said, he wanted to take a break from wrestling. You can't blame him. He had plenty of frustrations, plenty of weird characters he had to work with. And you'll see a common theme on this list is people that had creative issues and were being held back by the creative team. Up next is Ryback, who's perhaps one of the biggest examples of this. He had creative issues, he had disputes with his contract. Of course, he requested to be taken out of Raw back in May. He's still under contract with WWE, but it's sort of under bad terms. He had this whole rant on social media about equal pay and being booked to lose and then being paid less because he lost. But in a predetermined sport, is that right or wrong? There's pretty interesting points. And Ryback, who's always been very vocal on Twitter, of course, not really throwing much positivity at WWE. And I don't think they would put him in a video game. I don't think they would approve it even if 2K were to send the roster. I think he would be taken out. So I don't think Ryback will be making it into WWE 2K17. Up next, we got one of the biggest releases of the year, which is Damien Sandow, who of course last appeared in the games as Damon Mizdow. Was probably his last biggest run. He was the Macho Man Dow. He was the savior of the masses. Damien Sandow, plenty of weird gimmicks like all these guys, and he always somehow seemed to make them work. And now he's left the WWE. He was released in May, and he's going to be wrestling as Aaron Stevens in the Indies, which was his old indie name. And of course, Damien Sandow, sad to see him go, and sad to see him out of the games. But that's just what it is. And then our final future endeavor, perhaps the biggest, is Cody Rhodes, aka Stardust, who requested his release back in May. He had a bunch of creative frustrations, and the Stardust character was supposed to go so much farther than it did. There was a lot of plans that got kind of sort of drawn over. And Cody Rhodes just had more opportunities outside of WWE. Lots of indie appearances he's going to be making once his no-compete clause expires. He's going to be wrestling Kurt Angle, all sorts of stuff. Very exciting. And he's going to also be guest starring on Arrow. As we know, he had the feud with Stephen Amell as Stardust. And that sort of made this friendship between Stephen Amell and Cody Rhodes. And now Stephen Amell's got his friend Cody Rhodes to be a villain or a guest star on Arrow. There's no real details about it yet, but it should be pretty exciting to see Cody Rhodes. He's always a good actor in WWE, whether it came to the Dusty and Goldust storylines or Stardust, or as really any gimmick that he has. So this is very exciting. And you can't help but feel good for Cody Rhodes, just sort of using his talents elsewhere, not being limited by WWE. So that's my final future endeavor for this list. So as always, thanks for watching. This is another WWE 2K17 speculation video, news video, anything you want to see. Of course, you can leave a comment for that, request any sort of content you want to see, and we'll see you in the next video.